everyone. This is the Light Gate. We're coming to you live from the beautiful city of New Orleans in Louisiana at the United Public Radio Network at 107.7 FM and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network at 105.3 FM. We are on Facebook, we're on Roku, we are on Rumble, and we are on YouTube. We have an interesting evening ahead, and I hope all is going to go as planned. I would like first to say one thing. I want everyone to know that somebody I found to be very, very special person, very intelligent gentleman, well-known and well-loved by many people on the internet. He was a futurist, and his name was John L. Peterson. He passed away this weekend, and he is going to be missed by many, many people. I only met him about a year and a half ago, a little over maybe 2 years ago now, and I went to his institute to speak last summer, as a matter of fact. And he showed me everything he was doing. He took me into his private world and gave me a tour of what his vision was, what he was trying to accomplish, and I was just so impressed. I know he is going to be very, very, very missed. And I know that people are going to work very, very hard to keep his institute alive and going and run it the way he wanted it to be run. If you knew him, please remember that this Saturday coming up, they're going to have a special gathering. And one of their trio is giving a talk, and they're going to have a live trio talk there as well. And it's going to be about his memory and in memoriam to him. Please show up there if you can. You can look for the Institute online. I will leave a link in the show notes tonight so that you can hook up with it and maybe show up or send your condolences to him and his family and his coworkers and his friends and everyone who knew him. We also have an interesting situation going on tonight. We had a CME yesterday. It was an X2, and it is incoming right now. And we had a proton storm just before that CME that waned back. But just before the storm erupted, the proton storm started up again. And when they go up like that, usually a CME coming in, which it is now starting, is going to produce all kinds of effects. The aurora borealis should be spectacular tonight into tomorrow. And if you live in an area where you might see it, you need to go outside and look. It's very, very special. This CME is hitting centrally to the US, but also other countries. Australia's in the way of it as well, because it's very far north, and it had a very broad expansion of materials worldwide. The corona of it just went everywhere. So our guest, Rowan Bo, who I just hope just popped in. Yay! Hey, hold on a second.
Sorry. Hi, guys.
Hi, Rowan. We were worried.
I'm on my cell phone.
Perfect. That's good.
That works.
More than one way to skin a cat tonight. Yeah. You're not the only one that's having problems. We started having problems when we came into the studio tonight as well. So it might get interesting for us all. I don't know.
I'm sorry. Can you hear that other noise? That's the jets going overhead.
That's okay. Don't care. Absolutely don't care. We have. I'm just excited that you made it and that you're here.
Thank you so much.
Preston, I'm gonna go ahead and let you start talking. You're very welcome. Preston, okay. You start.
Thank you, Dolly.
Yeah.
Hi, Rowan. We'll get to you in just a second, but we don't want to lose you, so we're gonna get going quickly here. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. It's episode 123. Can you believe it? 123 of the Light Gate. I'm your host, Preston Dennett. My lovely co-host is Dolly Safran, subject of the book Symmetry. I'm on page, I think, 80 of the sequel, so I'm pretty excited about that. And yeah, thank you guys so much for joining us. I absolutely am so grateful and delighted and honored and all wonderful things that you choose to spend your Monday evenings with us. We have a really wonderful guest. I'll get to her in just a second. Let me just say a quick hi to you folks. Gonna keep it brief because I keep getting in trouble. There's a couple of people of you out there like, why are you spending so long saying hello? I can't help it. I love you guys, so I'm gonna go real fast through this. So, hi, Mountain Dan. Hello, Teresa. Hi, Peak. Oh, Scarlet Fire. Thank you for joining us. Sharice Basila. We got Kaleidoscope Eyes and Leah Wardlow, Olivia, and Mary. We have Sandra. Hi, Sandra. We got Rocco. Louise from New Jersey. Hey, namaste. We love you.
I want to say something real quick. Namaste knows John L. Peterson as well. Y'all send her some love tonight because they have a pretty good working relationship with one another. I've known each other a long time, and I'm sure she's feeling it tonight as well. Okay.
What was this group called, by the way? The Far Sight?
No. Namaste knows it better than there's something institute, and I can tell you your telephone number, your social security number, where you live, but names, I have no.
Well, maybe you can share that namaste because we do want to point people towards that because he has a lot of interesting information to share, and his influence will be felt for years.
Yes.
So thank you, namaste. Hello, Patsy. Michael Kennedy, glad you could make it. Oh man, Bob Thorson, so generous, so kind. We love you. Who else do we got here? We've got a lot of people. My bud. We have Bambi Dudley. We have Zen Quixote and Linda Catlett and Jay Kirshenman and Gizmo and Fun Talks TV and Fox Mulder. Big crowd today, you guys. I'm truly honored. We haven't even gotten started. Max Meeks. We got Kalar Brady. We have Joyce Aldrich. Joyce Aldrich. How you doing? Dolly and I are going to be on Joyce's show. She has a podcast too and has had some interesting experiences herself. So can't wait, Joyce. John P. Adventures, Gizmo. Thank you so much. Legends don't die, Max. They just lose. Lucid Dreaming with Blind Psychonaut. Thank you, Cherise. Thank you so much. Very nice of you. You guys always deliver. Thirsty, hello. And I think I better get going. Sparks. Hi, Sparks. And Dunsel26. And just a bunch of you guys. Scott from South Carolina. And Tom, an oil painter. And Namaste, Arlington Institute. Thank you.
Yep, I just found it. Thank you, Namaste.
We have Oreo. We have Sadie. We have a bunch of people. Ricky. But I am just going to introduce our guest. So glad you can make it.
So sorry.
We have the lovely, amazing Rowan Bo. Robo. You may know her as UFO Girl. She has been on the show about a year ago exactly. And at the time, she was thinking about putting a book together. And guess what? She did it. Here it is, The Travelers. Check it out, you guys. It's an amazing book. I love it. It works on several levels, as we'll get to talking about. But for those of you who don't know Ro, she's been a contact since 8. Guessing it's probably a little earlier than that. But that's when it started. That she's seen troll-like beings, been on board a UFO with blonde Nordic beings, piloted UFOs. That is so interesting because Dolly, of course, talks about her experiences with that. She's experienced phantom pregnancies, has seen UFOs in 3 countries. That's amazing. She's a keen disclosure advocate, enthusiastic about connecting fellow UFO contactees, has appeared on many podcasts and radio shows, and has her own Facebook page and radio podcast where she offers support for people coming to terms with their experiences, which is part of what her book is about. Ro actually returned to Cardwell as a speaker and volunteer of the Australian UFO Festival, which is really Australia's only UFO festival. But guess what? She was alongside Ross Coulthart. Wow. As well as Roger Stankovic, Australian MUFON director, and Grant Levac. She is the author of this amazing book. Let me pop it up again. It's called The Travelers, an Experiencer's Guide to Extraterrestrial Disclosure, which explores her 40 years of ET contact. She's also the co-host of UFO Radio on 4EB, soon to be returning in 2026, and has given many interviews and speaks in front of audiences regularly. This book not only presents her own experiences, but is a guidebook for others who are having these same kinds of experiences. And you got all kinds of stuff going on, including I wrote down documentary in 2026. So we'll talk about that for sure. But let me just pop that off and welcome you, Ro. Thank
you. Can you hear me all right? Just for starters, because I haven't had a chance to test anything. My one computer stopped working, and then the next one wouldn't connect. It had full service, but the internet didn't want to work. I'm sorry about that, everyone.
We all go through that.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for using your phone. Because you sound great, you look great, so we're definitely right on track to have a fun show. Yeah, thanks for joining us.
Oh yeah, thank you so much. I love you guys. Thanks to having me back on and talking about my book. Of course, Preston wrote the foreword, and Dolly is also featured in there. I hope you don't mind, Dolly. And Preston. Yeah.
No, that's awesome. Well, we do have a CME coming in because we're a little glitchy, aren't we?
Yeah, it's actually gonna get bad tonight. It's an X2, which the auroras are really going to be spectacular. I know this, but all communications are in the way of it. So because we're satellite driven communications now, mostly if something hits one of our satellites and it affects where our direct communications are, it can knock us off. So it's also going to mess with streaming services and stuff like that as well. So we'll just
we'll do the best we can.
Use our good energy to push back against it.
That's it.
So yeah, bro, I'm so excited for you. The new book, it's doing pretty well. You're getting some good reviews already, hopping up there on the Amazon bestseller list. Awesome.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm just so grateful. I sold all my book copies at Cardwell actually on the first day, and then I got sick on the second day, and I couldn't even do my talk. I'm still a bit sick, but sorry about that. But I'm just so grateful that people like you guys can have me on your show, and I can talk about the book and what's all the important information in the book. I think it's important. So just the worldwide disclosure and how people are going to cope with it, and what do we do next.
Yeah, I saw you on Beyond the Outer Realm with Michelle de Rocher, which was very cool to see you getting the word out.
Yeah, that was a really great show. I was so happy to just able to express everything in the book. So people don't necessarily have to buy it. I'm not here to sell the book. I'm just here to talk about what my thoughts are about, disclosure and what non-human intelligence are and my own experiences. So we can all kind of open the world of disclosure and start discussing it without having judgment. And as you know,
exactly.
Dolly,
yes, very much so. I know. Well, trust me, I know. I get there with it a lot. Okay, so this is all about you and what you're doing. So let's let you go ahead and start this off. What part of this do you want to discuss first?
Well, I'm happy to discuss anything. I know Preston's read it because he did the foreword, so that was really amazing. So thank you, Preston. The first part of the book is my own experiences, so I delve into every memory that I have, and as you guys know, these are my own memories. They're not. I don't use hypnotherapy or any hypnosis to uncover more information, which one day I might do, but I haven't before. So that's I really just try and delve into every aspect of my memories, so I can just pull every memory out and examine it. And there's also paranormal things that I've had happen throughout my life as well. And then I find other people who have had similar experiences. That's where Dolly comes in to it. And I've also then, because during my experiences, after each experience, there was a UFO reported. So I was able to actually find some reports in the areas at the same time. So I've actually got evidence. And so I'm pulling information from everywhere plus the other thing is that I actually had diaries, so everything was diarized at the same time. So I suppose that's stand-upable in court. So that's my evidence.
It's important.
You know what I
It's
mean?
the first thing I always tell people who are experiencers is, write it down, because it's some of this stuff is easy to forget. It's very therapeutic to write it down.
I had dates of all the things that happened. So although most people didn't report the exact thing on the exact same night, within the weeks surrounding were the same craft reported. So obviously, they were in the area at the same time. And I obviously is one of these people that they contact all the time. So that's why they followed me. I'm assuming that's why that they followed me from country to country, because, so I was able to piece together every single little memory. And although I don't have memories of some contact where they followed me to Africa and to England, I've been able to, I went to Mary Rodwell, who did a meditation, not a hypnotherapy, because for 40 years contact, how on earth can you uncover that in an hour Zoom session? So we didn't go there. And plus, it's been traumatic enough. I don't need to go through more trauma. What on earth I might uncover one day, that might happen. What happened was, some memories have cracked open, so to speak, since that. So she did an unblocking of any implants or blocks that might have memory blocks. Not everything's come out. And then the second half of the book is what's going on. So what are non-human intelligence, what are governments perhaps doing? I haven't really focused on the government disclosure, US government disclosure, because other people are doing that. So I wanted to just, link it to my own experiences and try and work out what's going on and see if we can pull out more information. And then the third third of the book is how people can cope with the information and what we can do to also experience more things psychically. So I've got some exercises and things that I've been doing for a long time, writing dreams out and just trying to find exercises that are doable, that we can all then put into practice to become more psychic and experience more things ourselves.
Well, that's what I love about this book. It's a very clever thing that you did there to work on, 3 different levels. It's not only your story, which is kind of, an adventure, and it's amazing. And then you have, of course, the second part where you kind of reflect on it and talk about the ETs. And the third part, which is so important, which is the guidebook part. So I think that's what makes this book so valuable and really unique, because there are a lot of people who write books about their experiences. But as I wrote in the foreword, I don't really recommend a lot of them.
Thank you.
I thought your story was actually really an important one and could help a lot of people. So thank you for giving me that opportunity to write the foreword. But I thought, how about we just kind of organize this interview into 3 parts? Kind of.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Kind of like your book, which of course we won't be able to cover in 2 hours because there's just no way. But you had some really interesting experiences starting at age 8. I thought that might be a fun place to start, because I actually did find an image of these little beings that I believe they're probably the same ones you saw. These kind of little troll-like beings.
Yes. So, and that was amazing to discover that other people had seen it, including, you've seen them too, haven't you, Dolly?
Yes,
the
absolutely.
Little troll-like beings with the
Yeah.
hoods.
Yeah.
And when I was doing my research, I found that there's carvings of these beings go back 2,000 years. There's some carved on Hadrian's Wall, and they go all the way back to Italy, and all of these genii cuculati means hooded spirits. So that's Christine Dennett's. Is it Christina or Christine?
Yes, that's Kisara. Yeah, she did that. That's her working name. Yeah, Kisara. Yeah, I love that picture. It's very, very, very accurate.
Yes.
I had the first reaction I had to meeting one of these little people is that I have a tendency to be, I'm very touchy-feely, I'll come up at you and, want a hug or whatever. And I ran up to, it was a male, and I ran up to him and I hugged him and I stood up. Now I'm a tall girl and very strong, and he's heavy though. It's solid as a rock. Okay. And I strangled him. I was like, oh wow, and I sat him back down, and he gave me this look like, did that help you at all? And I was like, yes, yes, it did. And he just went, okay. And I realized that they were with my child's contactor, or they're the children of the contactees of these guys, and they sort of watch over them and they make sure they're okay, and they work with them, and it's almost like they're leading the way. It's like the Seven Dwarfs. You remember Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs? That was what I got. Not like the cartoon, but just that emotional support thing going on with these guys. Very much so. And smart, very smart. And then I learned something else about them, Rowan. The little AIs, the helper AIs, the ones that are not, they're biological AI. They invented them eons and eons and eons ago. They're responsible for them.
Oh, and they kind of the hooded ones invented them. Right, yeah.
Created the little AIs that we see. We're responsible for them. And it blew me out of the water. I was like, you're joking. And it's like, no, we created them.
What's so interesting to me, Rose, is that, like Dolly says, they work with children, and here you are, a young child, and these are the first beings that you recall interacting with. Is that correct?
And what's interesting as well, yes, that is correct. And the Genii Kukulati were reported as like a kind of patron saint of children and children's health.
Oh, wow.
But going back 2,000 years, and because they worked with me with time, so what they were demonstrating in my experience was they were able to make time go really, really fast. When you sort of like, and then really slow, and you just feel like you're moving really slowly. They were able to demonstrate those effects on reality. So that's when I realized, after I'd written the book, I'm going to have to just put a couple of more sentences in here and there, just to do an upgrade of it, is that they were time travelers. And I was like, time travelers, of course, the travelers. So that makes complete sense to me, that these little guys are able to come in and out of time. So they can manipulate time. That's their superpower, shall we say. So.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm not so sure. I don't, how do I put this? It's not, how do I explain time traveling to you? Time is, in the third dimension, we only perceive time one way, and that's the era of time. Okay, straight time. There's nothing in front of us or nothing in back of us that we can see. We can intellectualize it, but we can't experience it at all. And when we go out of this dimension, though, that changes. Every other dimension past the third dimension is outside the era of time. And the only reason that is because we're in a very gravity-heavy dimensional space here. And it locks us in, and our brains are only built to handle so much information, or conceptualize with our ability to hear and see and all that, our 5 basic senses. Our 6th sense gives us a leg up on that, though, because we are an interdimensional being indwelling a third dimensional body. Okay, so we already know consciously that we're not in time, but we are. And without being hooked up to your abilities and knowing what's what, it's very, very confusing to understand. In the third dimension, there is no past. Once we pass that in the third dimension, it doesn't exist anymore. It ceases to exist. It's dead. Okay, you can only experience now here. To go back in time here would be to go back to nothing. You can't physically travel back in time at all. What ET does is they go extra dimensional. They go outside this dimension, and they move backwards and forwards in it in a way that is constrained, though. They can't go too far back or too far forward interdimensionally, because that would kill the body as well, even for them. Okay, So when we leave, and we understand the math of it because there are people here that have done the math and they know, and we've proven it, that when you're going very, 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 very fast, time slows down. Okay.
Yep.
All right. So we know that the astronauts are a little bit younger than we are here while they're in space in the ISS, because they're traveling way faster than we are. Okay. Multiple times faster. But when they come back, they resync to us, but they know that their cells in their body are slightly different because of that, because they haven't aged as much. And you can see the difference in the age of their cells compared to what we are now, what they should be now when they get here. And that was very perplexing for everybody to understand. ET, when they go out of the interdimensional space, they can go for long periods of time interdimensionally, way far away from us, where time stands still for them where we're concerned, because we're just marching right along, but they're almost at a standstill. And they can come back within seconds of us leaving. Actually, they prefer to come back within 5 minutes of us leaving to put you back into time. Okay. But you're still not going back in time. You're just catching up in time. And that's how that works.
One of the really interesting things you described, Ro, because you talk about this when you meet these little beings, is how time slowed down. And I hear this from people. People will say, when the ET show up, it was as if time stopped. Right. So there's this interdimensional aspect when they show up, and you're getting pulled out of that time.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're being pulled out. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Thank you, Preston. Yeah. You cut to the chase. They're literally taking you out. Yeah.
That's what I've identified as well, because when we get into I'm going to say astral state, I've called it this dimension. I wanted to name it something. I wanted to name it the field, and I thought that doesn't make any sense. Now people are talking about the field, which I think is just this outside state. So it's a bit confusing, but when we get into an altered state, that's us being interdimensional as well, because we are interdimensional. We do have a spiritual side. We do, like in the chakras, they are going up. They identify the chakras of going up. So this is where it comes into the spiritual stuff as well. It's not just beings and spaceships. It's about our spirituality, and that's the link that I feel like that I talk about in my book. So that's why it's important that we then can draw information out of my experience and other people's experiences, because what we've experienced, we can come back with this information. And the US government talks about disclosure and being interdimensionals. Well, most of us don't even think about dimensions. So what are dimensions? So that's one of the big things I say in part 2 of the book, is questioning what are dimensions, and saying that we get accessed by ET in our altered state. So it's like before sleep, during sleep, after sleep, meditation, daydreaming. You hear people saying that they're just driving the car and next minute they've gone somewhere else, so it's like they're in that altered daydreaming state. So when we get into an altered state, that it's almost proof that we are going interdimensional, if that makes any kind of sense.
Yeah,
which is why I think the title of the book is so appropriate, because you talked about this. They're travelers. What does that even mean? They're traveling from other planets. They're traveling interdimensionally too.
Yes.
Yeah.
To some extent through time. So I think that was a really good title.
Yes, it was. Well, yeah, the second people that I did meet, it's going back to part 1, were the tall blondes. And so they took me up into their spaceship, it was a rectangular craft, very similar to what Charles Hall explains about in The Tall Whites. So I don't know whether my tall blondes are tall whites. This is another question. I wish that we could all answer these things, but thank you. Yes, I painted that picture, and that's me right in the center. That little dot is my body going up, and then I didn't really draw that very well. Their craft up there, but it kind of had elements, like a grill. It was plasma, or it was something hot, so it had heat waves coming off it, or plasma waves or something.
Mhm.
and it was glowing red. So they drew me up through the center of those in a hatch, I think it was, up into their rectangular craft, and there they had 2 swivel seats at one side. And I was out, then they said to me about flying the craft. And it's only since I've wrote the book, and I was like, oh my gosh, I remembered that they were saying to me that they wanted to test, I think it was my DNA through being able to fly the craft. And of course, at first I was like, well, that's never going to happen, because I thought that these guys had just come straight from outer space. And I was like, oh, that's ridiculous. So this is why I didn't really remember that part. But then I was able to fly the craft. And at first I didn't believe them because I couldn't feel the craft moving. So then they said, stand up and look down. So I was able to see the fields moving underneath me flying the craft. I mean, I was only going slow. It wasn't like I was going 10,000 miles an hour, unlike they did after they took over, and then they flew the craft and they went really fast. So I think it's when you see these streaks in the sky, you're like, oh, what was that? There's one of these guys, I think. So then I asked them, where are they from? And they said, thank you. Yeah, they said to me, we're travelers. And I was like, no, where are you guys from? Obviously, I didn't know about Palladians or any of that sort of stuff back then in 1991. So they just said, again, we're travelers. And that's why I named the book The Travelers. But it took me that long to figure out that there might be time travelers or space travelers or astral travelers or dimensional travelers or any of those
all of it.
travelers.
Basically.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Your book is amazingly honest and deeply personal. I mean, you lay it all out, which, kudos to you. That takes a lot of strength and courage, I think. But it's important because other people are having these experiences. And I don't know if you want to get too much into it, but you had some missing pregnancies.
Yes, I did. And last time we talked about it, there was some trolls, if you want to call it, in the chat. So I apologize for any.
That's all right. I'm watching.
But I was 17 and I elected that I actually had a car accident when I was 16. And my first experience with a gentleman friend, shall we say, resulted in pregnancy. And I had a major car accident at age 16, which incidentally Mum knew beforehand, which was another psychic thing in the book. And so I was not physically able to bring a child into the world. So I had an abortion. And however, when I went into the abortion clinic, there was no fetus in there. And of course, you don't go in and have an abortion when you don't have an ultrasound beforehand and things like that. So that was strange. And the lady said, oh, there was no, were you really pregnant? And I was like, yes, of course. Why would I be here? And I was actually nearly 12 weeks pregnant. So it was like I had to have that straight away before it became too late to have the procedure. So 2 years later, I actually accidentally fell pregnant to a gentleman friend that I had just split up with, and I didn't want to have a baby obviously by myself, and I wasn't in the right place and space to do that, so I elected to have another abortion. I apologize everybody, but again the same thing happened, and a different lady in another hospital said to me, a nurse, sorry, there was no fetus in there. We never have to say this to people. So at that point in my life, I'd only encountered the short, dark, hooded people. Oh, actually, no, between that, I'd had the tall blonde experience. And so I didn't piece any of this together until many decades later when I was in my 50s. So, I had a big bucket, I call it, like of all these weird experiences and then after.
Which is normal. Yeah.
So
I mean, normal for contactees.
Normal for contactees, but then you're not piecing these things together. It's not a cohesive, you have different species contacting me, different weird things like that, and different paranormal things, and different psychic things. So, and different countries. This is so confusing when you're a contactee, and also there's nobody to talk to. I had nobody to talk to. It was really difficult for friends. They thought I was weird.
Oh, yeah.
So
yeah, that's what breaks my heart because contact starts when a person's really young.
Yeah.
And you mentioned like it would be nice if you had a book like yours at your age.
Yes, that's right. Exactly. And that's why I thought, I might as well just do it myself. And this is what my life's been like. Oh, well, no one's talking about disclosure. I might as well just start doing it myself, so.
Yeah. And your mom, she got you this book, which didn't quite work out, did it?
No, that book, there was another picture in there with them all walking along in a line. Everyone knows that book.
Yep, I got that one for my daughter. Yeah.
Yeah.
Who had the same reaction you did, apparently. So, yeah.
Ah, yeah, I thought it was.
Yeah.
I actually thought that was my book about helping me. Here's your guidebook, says Mum when I was 9.
Wow.
And no, it wasn't. It was really. I thought it was scary. It was quite scary for me. But then there's other pictures in there, and there's one picture that looks just like the short dark hooded ones because it's got like a hair like that. It doesn't have horns, and it just as the face looks just like it to me.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So then I had lots of contact with the Greys, or who I call the Grey Lady. So this was more of a mind melding consciousness kind of experience. So I was there in person.
Yeah.
Again. Yeah. I wasn't. A lot of people
not
say,
physically in the same room, but consciously connected.
No, I
correct?
was there. I was taken up on their craft too.
Okay.
So,
Right.
but then she and I would be sitting probably about 2 foot away from each other, and we would look at each other's faces and somehow meld our minds. So that was my experience with them. Plus, I was able to walk around the craft. So I had that for 20 years, ongoing experiences with who I call the Grey Lady. I don't remember any other beings in that black triangle craft. So that was the black triangle craft. And so all I remember was the Grey Lady, who I call the Grey Lady.
Very interesting.
So,
you had some early UFO sightings too. Let me see. You had one in the 91 was the orb that was when you were pulled on board, right?
That's right. Yeah, you showed that picture there of me being drawn up. I don't remember it being on a light beam or anything like that. It just was me going up in the air without anything. Then I had so when I woke up on that was the tall blonde craft. So when I woke up the next morning, there were reports of UFOs on the radio, but there were slightly different UFOs, and they weren't rectangular orange or red objects. So what they reported was green cylindrical big motherships, so to speak. So when I was over in Africa, I saw 2 of those a week apart, these green long cylindrical motherships. To do with also with orbs going ahead directly above me, in Africa, in the middle of nowhere, really on safari. So,
wow.
I want to hear about the canoe trip too, where you saw the hippos and the alligators.
Yeah, that was amazing. I had a really amazing trip over there. No wonder they were keeping an eye on me. Like, what are you guys doing down there? Like, we're in the middle of, the Rift Basin or whatever it is.
Yeah, hippos are dangerous, from what I understand.
Hippos and crocodiles are the most. They're equally dangerous. You wouldn't think so with hippos. You'd think they'd be all cute, but their mouths are gigantic. And apparently the week before, I've written in my diary, so this is how I know remember all these things. There was some people that didn't speak the language, so they didn't know to we would have to push our canoes over this way and push our canoes over. Crocodile, we yell out, crocodile to the right. No, we go like, I'll go to the left. So they didn't know that, and that one of the hippos actually snapped their canoe straight in half with their big mouth. So yeah, it was very dangerous. We were stupid doing that at age 24, going to Africa, having no idea what we were doing.
So you weren't out with a professional guide or anybody. Y'all just went out.
No, we were with we were with guides. I'm not really sure how professional they were, but we were just backpacking around. We did 6 months backpacking overseas. So we went 3 months in Africa, and then 1 month 2 months in England and Scotland, and then we went to Canada for 3 weeks, and then we went through to Hawaii on the way back again. So yeah, we did the whole round the world trip.
It's important to mention, because I've noticed a pattern with a lot of contactees. They're kind of adventurous. They're kind of well traveled.
Travelers.
You're a traveler yourself.
Yeah. Wanderlust. I call it wanderlust. Cannot help myself. You say, "Oh, let's go here." You say, "Yeah, okay, let's go." I don't even think about it. Let's just go. Yeah.
Yeah, well, my mum, I was born overseas. So I was born in the UK. So mum obviously was too. That was back in 1969 that she went over to England. And that was like, oh my gosh, someone's traveling to England,
Wow. So when you were having these experiences in your childhood, did you tell your mom, and what was her reaction?
Well, look, she didn't. I'm sure she I wish that she remembered, but unfortunately she's got dementia now. So when I started to come out with all my stuff, I was trying to talk to family members. Do you remember this? Do you remember that? My sister remembers me having these experiences with the troll-like beings. But mum, I couldn't ask, and she wouldn't remember anyway. So yeah, no, mum, I do remember having a thing. Did
you ever tell her though when you were a kid?
Yes, I would have done for sure. And that's why, with that book, I would have thought, I would have said, oh yeah, mum, that's one of these beings that I've been seeing. I wouldn't have known what I called it then, because I was only 8 or 9.
Right.
I was just living it. I don't remember exactly, because it happened for a long time as well. Enough time for me to go, oh my God, this is a regular thing. It wasn't just a one-off. This was like a regular contact.
Were you thinking this is normal and this is how everyone lives, or you know what I mean?
No, I don't know. I never really thought that it was just me. Right. But it certainly felt like just me when people were saying, oh yeah, that's just wild imagination, or that's just a bad dream, or something like that. So, but I did have a time where I said to mum, look, can you look at the back of my neck, thinking, oh my God, I believe they operated on me. And I thought, oh my God, my whole hair and everything will just be a matted mess of blood and gore. And in the morning time, I'm trying to get mum to look at it. Mum, can you look at it? Oh, later. Yeah, I will later. Oh, let me sleep. These sorts of things. So finally, hours later, mum got a chance to look at it, and there's nothing there. And then she felt the nodule that's been there ever since. So there is. I don't know whether there's something in there. I have had neck x-rays before, but I'm trying to look in the x-rays. Is there something there? Let's see. But no, I can't seem to see anything myself. So, but because I've just had that contact on and on and on and on and on, they must have.
I think most contactees, have implants. I really do.
Yeah. Yes.
But, so do you have any indication whatsoever that your parents or anyone, from the previous generations had any kind of contact?
Oh, no, I have asked my family. I've lost family members because of this as well, where they're like, Rowan's a crazy person. So unfortunately, it doesn't help the cause talking about it.
No, it doesn't.
No one, unfortunately, that I can identify has remembered any contact. However, my son, who I prefer to keep anonymous and haven't mentioned him in the book. He had, I believe, had a few incidences when he was about 18 or 19. yeah, so he was waking up going, Mum, my clothes were all on the floor, or Mum, you know, my clothes are back to front and inside out and all wrong, or I didn't.
It's a sign.
Wasn't wearing this when I went to bed, these sorts of things.
So you mentioned your mom had a psychic flash when you had a car accident. Can you?
Yeah. Yes. So we've all kind of had like a few incidences that, but yeah, this particular incident was when I was 16. I think I was 16 or turning 16. My mum tried to go into my bedroom. I was at school, and she couldn't walk into the room, and she had a feeling or a thought or a download that Rowan's not going to be home for a very long time. And then a week later, I was involved in a major car accident. 3 people died of our friends, and I didn't go back to school after that. I'm actually having trouble still with it now, 30 something years on. And my other friend who was in the car accident, she just had a knee replacement from it. So yeah, we're still dealing with things to do with it. But what blew my mind was 3 people died and I didn't die, and my 2 other friends didn't die. So how would something know that I wasn't going to be home for a very long time? I wasn't going to die a week or so before the car accident. And when Mum was actually, I'm not sure whether I mentioned this in the book.
Precog. I don't think everybody understands what precog really is. I've had discussions with Preston about this. You're psychic. Your consciousness is not in this dimensional space. It's indwelling your body, but it lives in all dimensional space. It can hear and see everything. Okay. And when you're outside of this dimensional space, you're aware of everything that's going on everywhere. Okay. And her consciousness was warning her about you because it already knew this was coming, and it was trying to communicate to her. And so it comes off as a weird feeling of precog because she's not completely wide clairsentient, wide open, psychic aware. She's going to hear it like that. She's going to feel it like that. And that's what precog is. You're telling yourself about yourself or somebody else, or a great group of people that something's about to happen. It's your consciousness literally going, hey, pay attention. This is important. Listen to what I'm saying to you. And but that's what that is, literally what precog is. And she got that feeling. And mothers who are connected to their children are more apt than anybody to get that from consciousness, because you have little cells from your daughter still in your body. Okay. They migrate to a node in your heart, and you'll carry her for the rest of your existence here. Okay. Physically carry her with you, and it's an open line to her, and your consciousness is connected to that because it's indwelling with you, and that's why she got that message. She knew.
And when she, on the night of the car accident, may have been even before the car accident or during the car accident, she was all ready to go. She knew that there was something going on. She was already in her coats. She was all packed up. She had the lights off, waiting for the phone call.
Yeah. Isn't that horrible? That had to be weird for your mother. It really did.
And Mum was a nurse. So Mum worked at the hospital.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah.
Mum was an emergency nurse. So thank God she wasn't there. But so I was in hospital a month, and I didn't go back to school. So
wow.
Because I had this one arm was smashed 9 times. So they'd said that had it been 10 years before, it's a bit morbid, they would have just amputated the whole arm. So I was grateful that they didn't do that.
You're lucky they're able to keep through. That's amazing.
Yeah.
You've had yourself some instances of precognition, right?
Oh, yeah. I had one with my father, as you would have read in the book, when I was just kept reliving this image that I was going to be there when my dad passed away, and how I was going to be doing it, and how I was going to have this active part in saying, Dad, don't be frightened. You just go from here to there. Somehow I knew this stuff. I didn't know it. So, I just knew it inside. So I just had this repetitive thought that was going round and round, and I thought, course, this is who kind of person do I think I am? You know, I'm going to be there like a
No,
helping
you
to
should
pass
listen to
over.
yourself. Yeah, that's your consciousness
Yeah.
telling you. That's who you
what I
are.
realized. That's
You know,
right.
that is you. It's saying, here we go.
Yeah.
You know, it's
And
always
it
better to
happened,
know
played
sometimes.
out
Yeah.
the exact scenario of how
Yeah.
I had already thought it. So
So the big question is,
yeah.
did it help you to know? Looking
I
back,
think it helped me to understand. Well, obviously, you can't understand everything, but you know, just to get our minds around how what I call, you know, as I said in that last interview that I know you guys watched, it is how massive the universe is. What on earth is going on? This is not just, like I say, ET and craft and UFOs. This is like a big
everything.
issue. Yeah. The universe and everything, or whatever that. So I might as well call my book, you know, my theory on everything, because I'd spent like a year writing it, and I'm trying to figure out the universe. This is what every night I'd go to bed and I'd get these, you know, visions as well coming in, and I felt like I had contact with the grey lady, and I had contact with my higher self, and I was getting guidance through synchronicities as well.
Sure you are. Yeah. The universe is a very chatty thing. ET refers to God as the all mind. Okay. And I was taught very young to understand that it talks constantly. If I want to listen to it, I can. If I want to ask it questions, it will answer me. It will help me if I need help. I mean, once I said, I need help right now. I don't care what you're doing right now. I just need help. And I got it. I got the answer that I needed right now. And it's because I shut up long enough to listen to what it had to say. And it's
there's
that
the trick right there, learning how to listen.
You know, I gave it a chance to get the message through into me, you know, through my consciousness. And it's comforting. That's why I asked you how it made you feel, because I knew when my parents were going to pass. I literally had the ability to just be there for both of them, you know. I altered my life so that they had my full attention. Okay. And I walked through it with them, you know. I was there all the way to the very, very end and after. And it was comforting to me. It gave me a sense of what's the word I'm looking for? This is part of living. And I was grateful to recognize what it was so that I could be part of that, you know. And a lot of people don't realize
beautiful thing.
Being
there with your family, what better place could you be in amongst, you know, your family to pass over at that time. So
yeah, I've had some precognition. Every time it happens, I'm like, wow, look at that. Oh, it's so cool. I mean, I love it. It's really, and it's often about, well, you know, not always tragic events, but enough. Because some people are like, oh, you know, I don't want to know. It does help. You know, it certainly helped me. It softens the blow a little bit, I think.
Yeah, and I also think too, this is where in the third part of the book, as we know, we're probably jumping a little bit, but I've said in there, if we do meditate and if we can access our higher self and information that comes from our higher self or our guides or the universe, there's no secrets. So we get insights into things that, and as a world, we need those insights, because I don't think we being treated.
A lot of people don't have a real, people don't have a grip on reality. And I feel like that it affords us reality in no uncertain terms. And it's not hard to take, because it's actually helping us prepare for it. You know, it's helping us to walk through it in an easier way. I would much rather know something's coming at me, or something's going to happen, or this is just how it is. It makes it easier to accept. It makes it easier to respond to the situation. I'm better prepared.
Yes.
You know,
I think if you meditate every day, you can kind of get.
And I'm not going to lose it. Yeah. Exactly. You can get framed in so that you can walk through whatever you got to deal with. Yep.
Exactly. And then we're just becoming the best beings that we can be. Isn't that the point?
Right.
Why we're here?
Yes.
To be the best.
Yeah.
There was there was another little gem in your book. It's filled with all these really wonderful little gems, is what I call them.
Thank you.
But you were questioning your experiences, and you're like, I need proof. I need an answer. And you just kind of called out, like Dolly's saying, if you call out, you can get an answer. And it started with like a buzzing. Am I remembering correctly?
Oh yes, I had two major experiences within a few months of each other, and also an abduction as well. So during that 1 year, I think I wrote down so many things, and I may have forgotten them, but I don't know whether that was just a 1 year where everything was coming to me. So yeah, I had that twice, where things I called out, and then it was almost like a CE5, but a personal CE5. So I was feeling really crook on that, and my stomach was giving me a lot of pain. And as it was, I actually had to have a gallbladder out. So I'm not really sure. I was trying to remember exactly when I had that. So it could have been like a gallbladder attack. Anyway, and I felt this and heard this buzzing sound, and it sounded like buzzing bees. So it was like zzz, and the whole room just started to so it was a really, really loud buzzing noise, so much so that the room was actually vibrating and all of reality was vibrating, but it was coalesced to my stomach, and it was like a rippling movement going out like that. And I was shut my eyes, and I was like, oh my God. So there was something there. I could feel it like beings there. So I don't know whether they were ET, maybe they're both the same thing. And so this vibrating was so loud and so all encompassing, like the whole room was vibrating. And I called out to my friend who I was staying with, and when I ran out afterwards, I was on top of the world. So I'd been healed by something when I was calling out for them to help me. And I ran out and I was like, did you hear me yelling your name? And she's like, no. And I'm like, did you hear that? And I was like, oh my God, finally I have proof that I'm not crazy. The more I said, the more crazier I sounded, though. And she's like, what are you even talking about? So she hadn't heard anything. So whatever was going on was either centralized directly on me, or I was sort of in a slightly different altered state somewhere else, or they were, so there was some sort of bilocation of me and these other beings, healing beings, or ET or whoever they were. But the other time that I'd called out for them,
I love this one.
Yeah, I was trying. Actually, it was Easter and 2001, and I was feeling really spiritual, and I was feeling, when you just feel sometimes just so connected, and I knew I was getting abducted regularly, so I was trying to ask for proof for them. And I knew I'd had like things, UFOs coming overhead, over in Africa and over in England, which it followed our car for hours over there. That's a whole other story. And so I saw this rainbow in the sky, and this was in the afternoon, and it wasn't just a big rainbow. It was 3 tiny rainbows in the sky, one on top of each other, and one was upside down.
Very unusual.
Oh, that's weird. And of course, now I'm like, oh my God, of course, that rainbows aren't like that. So yes, it was very unusual. But then directly afterwards, as I was looking in the sky, I saw what I thought was a balloon, because it was like, say, a yellow light tracking over. And then I noticed a blue one and a red one, and there was loads of them in the sky. And I thought, oh, somebody's just a kid's party's let off a bunch of balloons. And then I thought, if that was a kid's party, they'd all be going drifting in one thing. But these were all traveling all over the place. And then the whole blue sky just lit up with stars. And I'm like, oh my God. So calling out to my husband at the time, and like, can you see this? Am I like, so I got an actual confirmation, and then everything just flicked off all at once, turned off. So I was writing in my diary, like, I saw this right when I actually had that weird thing happen. So that was another confirmation where I knew that whoever they are could hear me through psychic stuff, because I'm not calling out with my voice, I'm calling out with my being and my heart.
Yeah. I have a question. I'm dying to know this. Have you ever tried to OBE?
Out of body? I did one time, where only once that I've had the experience of it where I was trying to activate my Kundalini, and I was just concentrating on my energy coming up through my energy centers, and next minute I'm out in the universe. So that's the only time I've ever done it. And I was looking at the stars and everything. I'm like, okay, that's why I call it the starry universe, because I think the starry universe is the spiritual universe, you know. So that's a similar experience that I remember from when pre-birth. So I actually remember that starry universe of nebula and stars before I was born. So that's why
sounds like an OBE to me.
Yeah, when you were vibrating and everything and you heard that buzzing noise, that's the vibratory state. And you're describing being going out of body. In other words, being in that position of you're in the body, but you're not. Okay. Because you're in the vibratory state. You're about to leave, but you haven't yet. And you feel all the energy of that vibrating and everything. And you're very lucid. And the reason she couldn't hear you is your consciousness was now in control of you. In other words, you were lucidly conscious. Okay. And you're talking to her, but you're not using your physical body. You're using your consciousness. And you think you're physical, but you're not. See what I'm saying? I think that's exactly what happened to you. You were in the vibratory state. You're trying to communicate with her, and she couldn't hear you because you weren't talking with your body. You were talking with your mind, you know?
Yeah, it felt like other beings were their guides or whatever it was.
Well, you can see people around you when you're in the vibratory state, or even OBE, and you're surrounded. Everybody is all the time by beings. They're all around us always, and but I'm pretty sure you were OBE at that moment and just didn't realize it and couldn't talk about it. When you're asking for help, and you're lucidly trying to go out to get help, that's what happens. You'll leave your body and help will either be standing by for you. In other words, because they're all around you anyway, and they're trying to give you help. Okay. And they're just waiting for you to decide whether you're going to take it or not. Okay. Because it's a two-way street. Help doesn't come one-sided. You can't get help without the asking of it. And it has to be something that you absolutely need right now. You got to have it. And it's not part of your karma to experience whatever that is to be healed. Okay. And you were really mad into it. I mean, I'm not kidding you. You tried it big time.
I didn't know anything about it. So I was just being me by myself, you know. No wonder no wonder you have trauma, because all these things happen to you that you just don't know what's going on. You don't have anyone to talk to. And that's one of the main reasons why I've done this book, me being alone for so long. And people are alone with these experiences, whether it's ET or just paranormal stuff. And that's another thing I've talked about in my book is non-human intelligence. They are so many non-human intelligence that are interacting with us, including spiritual things as well.
Yeah.
Spirits, all kinds.
Yeah.
Cryptids. Yeah.
I did have one experience which reminds me of what you saw, with the rainbow and the I was wondering, are they out there? Do they know of me? Because, you wonder these things when you have these experiences. And I went out in my backyard, and this is in Reseda, mind you. There's a million people around me within 20 miles. So not likely something's going to come down, right? But I looked up in the sky. I'm like, I know you guys are out there. I feel you. And sure enough, right up there at the zenith, this light goes right on, stays there, and goes right off. I knew it. I could, you get that little bit of a connection.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay. Yay. You heard me. Cool. It was really cool.
Yeah. I just realized that there were people like my husband at the time who just couldn't deal with this stuff, But there's so many, like 99% of people probably, or maybe that's just a bit harsh, because I think people are experiencing things all the time. But some people just can't process it. Some people just can't put it into their reality. Some people just block it, and they would rather not be anywhere near, say, for example, me, who's experiencing weird things, and discuss and to actually learn that there might be things that they don't know. There's more to the material world. And that's what
delusion is. Yeah, delusion is a very hard thing to break. And people on earth are kind of delusional. They're taught to be that way. It's acceptable behavior, to be in delusion, to have a quote unquote paradigm of belief, an understanding of what is and isn't. And you get locked into that, and everybody in society is backing it up, and you almost get bullied for it. I felt bullied growing up with it. And that's not easy to do to me, but it happened, And you're right. There's nobody to talk to about it. And I would just have to talk to myself. And, I'd lick my wounds and go home and be very quiet and just let the universe talk to me. And it's like, it's okay. You're fine. And I also have family that has forsaken me and said, nope, no, and it's like, it's not my loss. It's theirs, because they're giving up a relationship that is meaningful for their discomfort or their delusion, and
judgment.
Or thank you, judgment as well. And it's sad, that we live in a world where everybody's very judgmental of everybody else, And
it's ironic because they're thinking, well, this person's crazy, when really, they're the ones, because it is true. We know this is true, because when you're having personal experience, it moves beyond belief. And that's what I loved about your book, Ro, because it takes you on that journey that so many contactees go through. And even if someone hasn't had these experiences, which was actually exactly what one of the reviewers wrote on your book, like, I'm not actually an experiencer, but I felt like one afterwards.
Yeah, no, I wanted to take people. I realized after I wrote the first two parts, so I've written all about my own experiences, and I've explained. So I call it like me, them, us. Them and us, or just all of us humans. So all my own experiences, what on earth they are. So I go into great detail of talking about like ET or interdimensional spirits. What are all these different non-human intelligence? There it is. And I felt like then it's like we've come through a whole journey as a traveler, where we've done all the traveling with these guys throughout the book. So it's like, welcome back to planet Earth. Now where do we go with this information? So that's the third part.
Right. Well, let's move to more through part 2 towards part 3 then, because we just finished our first hour. So you talk about non-human intelligence. Who are the extraterrestrials? Earthbound creatures, cryptids. So all of this to some degree is connected. But I don't know if people are saying it's the same thing. I don't buy that. I think they're separate, but but how do you look at all of this?
I think if we acknowledge that there's dimensions, and these things can come through, like they appear and they disappear. Sometimes some of these Sasquatch or whatever, people see them running and then they've just portaled out of there somehow. So like their footprints stop in the middle of the field. And so there's obviously dimensions happening. It sounds like, I don't want to say it sounds crazy, but we just have to pretend there's such a thing as dimensions, right? And there's beings living in those dimensions. There must be, because they're coming in and out, and they can access things. And
they're all here already. All the dimensions are together at the same time. You live in a 12-dimensional space, okay? And when they're here, you see the physical effects of their body on gravity here. In other words, they come in, they're physical, they've got weight, they're going to make footprints, right? But the minute they start to leave this dimensional space, they go out of being physical. They lose weight, they lose gravity, they lose all kinds of things. They're in the same dimensional space, but they've left the 3rd dimensional space, and now they're up in the 4th and the 5th dimensional space, and you cease to experience them physically. They're no longer physical to you. And what's hard for human beings to understand or perceive is that you can, through your abilities, see them even if they're not in this space. Because if they're dimensionally anywhere near you, you'd be able to perceive that they're there. It's like, not everybody sees ghosts, but ghosts are there. Okay, spirits who haven't left here are still here. And if you have you're using your abilities, you'll see them, you'll hear them. It's not them affecting you, it's you just opening up to see them. Okay. They've got hardware now where they have those spirit boxes and things, and they're trying to hear them talk and stuff. Well, you don't need that. You've got the equipment in your head. You don't need it. You're already hearing them.
Yeah, we don't need cell phones, actually.
No. You just turn the
What we
volume.
do tonight.
More and more proof that this stuff is real, isn't it?
Right.
Where people get like a snapshot of something and they can see it in the infrared, or people do come in and out of reality, or time reality. So that's why I identified that, non-human intelligence. So all these things interacting with us are intelligent, and they're non-human, whether it's angels or demons or whatever other thing in the middle.
Okay, let me ask you a question. When you say human, you mean a body like ours? Yes?
Well, that's the term that the US government's using, isn't it?
I know, they're wrong. They're absolutely 100% wrong, and I hate it. I can't stand it.
That's why I think everything is intelligent that's interacting with us. So
ET is as human as we are. They're ethnically different. That's all. We are all human. Okay, we are all genetically related to one another. We can breed back and forth. We're human. Okay, human or humanoid, but we all have the same genes. We have different species, like animals are different species than us. The human species is us. It is also ET. So we're not non-human intelligence. We are human. You're intelligent. You're human. Yes. So are they.
Maybe just call them intelligence would be a more accurate.
Yeah. Intelligence. Intelligence. Yes. What is non-human intelligence is this. It's either another animal species, like a dog, a cat, a bird, or an ostrich, or whatever. They're different species than us. But there are ETs who are just as human as we are, but look like a dog or a cat or a bird, okay? Or insectoid, what we think is insectoid. They're not different species. They are different ethnicities of humanoid, okay? It gets sketchy, all right? We have to learn to understand the terminology of what's really going on in front of us. Is a ghost non-human? He's non-physical human.
That's what I've.
Yeah, because we're all in it. Yeah.
People think that there's just greys interacting. Someone who's never come across this subject, so this is somebody who has to. Who's starting to research it. So this is just like a basic book for somebody to research.
I'm not saying you're wrong. You're going by what the government says. Yeah, I know. I wish
you're introducing people to the idea of all these different types of beings that are out there. It's not just
interacting with us. Yeah. and these things have been interacting with us for millennia, probably the whole time that we've ever been here. Because, so this is
we're related to them.
Opening people's mind to what on earth is happening, I think, anyway.
Yeah.
Were you ever taught? Let me get it out. Were you ever taught that you are related to them? By them?
I had the feeling that I was when I first, actually, it's written on the back of my book, like I stood in front of the tall blondes, and I looked like them. I had long blonde hair. I was slim back in the day.
There it is. We're related.
Right.
Yeah, there you are.
Yeah. And that's why I was like, are we guys related? And so I think obviously through that breeding program, whatever's going on there, these are things that are going on. So I'm just saying, I'm not questioning, is this happening? I know it's happening. Why is it happening? So that's where the questions are. That's why I've got every chapter is called a question. What is NHI? Question mark. What are UFOs? Question mark. What are dimensions? Question mark. And portals and orbs. So I've just tried to pull my own information out, pulling out information from the general consensus and also the US government, the little bits that they're disclosing here and there. So just trying to figure it all out, basically.
That's good, though. It gives everybody a chance to know your experiences too, which is good, because there's more people out there experiencing and they're not talking. They have nobody to hear it from at all.
Exactly. And this second section is important because when people have contact, all of these things come up. People are having, it's not just ET contact. It's a wide variety of paranormal experiences. I'm glad you
Yes.
included a section on life after death, because you talked
Yep.
about also another one of these little jewels in the book of your own memory of a past life. Could you talk
Yes.
about that? That
I
was
actually
really
do
cool.
remember a lot of past lives. I don't remember absolutely everything that happened, but one time I was, again, in an altered state, shall we call it, where I was very relaxed, and the walls, which were painted white in my house, morphed into wooden walls, slatted walls. And I looked down at myself, and I had long dark hair, and I was in my 40s. I felt like I was in my 40s, but even though I was really only in like 23 or something. So I felt different. The time period felt different. It felt like it was 500 AD, and I was in front of different people. So I knew actually my death was coming. I knew I was going to die. So it was like, it must have been a traumatic point, but I knew the whole backstory. And then the walls all changed back again to white again. So whoever was in the room at the same time, they didn't experience any of this too. And I was blown away that the fact that they didn't experience this. So somehow the two time periods merged or something, and I was that person back then.
Wow.
But yeah, so it was, this is another weird thing about time, how I was that person back in that time period. It wasn't like I was I wasn't looking as a third person. I was looking at from my own body outwards.
Right. You're re-experiencing your life through consciousness,
Yeah.
Have you done it with any other time periods, other lives?
There was another bit where I glitched, I'm going to say glitch, into another slightly time period there too, where I was a Celtic person. So I think, I don't know where I was in that particular life, the first one, Viking perhaps, and then more Celtic. So yeah, there was, during that same time period, there was two little flicks into past lives. And I was only, like I said, I was only 23 or something. So yeah. So this is what I mean. Like, how would you know this is all connected unless from retrospectively? So
Yeah. Most people growing up have an affinity for music or places they've never been to or never heard before when they're very young or even older, and they suddenly just become obsessed with this, and it's like it's home for them, And I have no way to express to anybody except to say it outright. I'm not going to beat around the bush. You're experiencing memory, memory of your past lives through the expression of what those times were you're in life. Celtic, they're definitely a different place, different time. One of mine when I was really young is I loved Eastern Indian music. I could sing it. I knew the words. And my mom was like, what is wrong with this? 3 years old, I'm running around singing Indian songs. And she's like, what? And I wanted to dress in a sari, and I had scarves and everything. I was just so determined to be that. I was playing back into who I was. I was expressing.
Children remember their past lives easily if you talk to them.
Crazy, yeah. And but we do that as adults too. You'll just suddenly, it'll be, boom, you've got it. And it's amazing. We would be much more rounded people if we understood that we've got a whole backstory from before this life, all the way around the road. And if you could draw on all the wisdom you've gained through all that time and then live with it now, that would be so cool. Don't you think? We would do so much better. Yeah.
I think I sort of do that a little bit. I feel like I was a monk, I feel like I was a nun. I felt like I was a witch or like, So I do like herbs as well. I think I was a herbalist. So I kind of remember things, and I'm like, how do I know that this would work? I'm actually learning French, and I get most of them right. Like I'm like, this is like I just have to hear it once and I remember it, sort of thing. So it's like,
I took 8 years of French. Turns out, I may have a pretty prominent French past life as a musician, as it turns out.
Yeah. Yes. I think we all do. And like you say, imagine if we did remember these things. And that's why I think that we're so much more, obviously, than we're being taught. That's what's so important about that third part of the book, is how we rediscover and remember and activate our own spiritual and psychic toolbox, I kind of call it.
Well, let's get into the third part of the book, but I do want to give a shout out to the people in chat. If you have any questions, now would be your last chance to get them in. I've already put stars against a few of them because we are moving towards, let's see, we're an hour 20 minutes in. We still have about a half hour left. So get your questions in if you have any. But yeah, this third part of the book, I'm so glad you included it, Ro, because this is exactly what contactees need right now. It's like, I'm having these experiences. What do I do? And I thought you have some really good advice here.
I think ontological shock is a major factor. I think how do you say
existential
shock is going to happen worldwide when people finally go, you know what, I think this is really real. I mean, lots of us already know this, as you guys know, but there is going to be people who have denied it and lied about it, and
some people aren't going to react well. They already are.
It's shocking. So how to find groups, how to what to do, how to deal with this is a major part of it. And that's one of the things that I'm doing now, is I'm creating groups that people can sit around a coffee table and talk about things. I just book a cafe somewhere and go, guys, go over there and talk about this stuff. So and also the book is how we can put our own, how we can become more psychic and manifest and creative and remote view and those sorts of things that people are talking about nowadays.
Right. Well, you have a whole section there on meditation, which I'm so glad you stressed the importance of that, because that's one of the first things I always tell contactees is, sit down and just meditate. It's helpful on so many different levels, but absolutely is a good way, because you recall your experiences without hypnosis, and anyone can do this. And people are so misguided to think, all of this is coming out under hypnosis. It's not reliable. Hold on a second. Most of the people I talk to remember it fully consciously. So meditation is a way to do that.
I think meditation is a way, multiple positive benefits. We've talked about connecting to guidance. We've talked about dealing with our own problems, trying to identify what our issues are. Well, I talk about that a lot in the book as well. And obviously trying to find the best pathway for our individual selves, how to be creative, working through everything and just being that best person that we can be. So if we ignore ourselves, we're never going to grow, are we? So by meditating at least once, a couple of times a week, if you want to do it once a day, even better. But you don't have to make it so difficult. You can just sit quietly and just go into retrospect, but then you're connecting with your higher self. And I've actually, what I've been doing lately is just drawing my consciousness up to my higher self and bringing it back again over and over each time I breathe in and out. And that higher self, the more and more we do that, the more the connection that we have with our higher self. And our higher self is, I heard somebody say recently, which I love, it's like that part of your body standing on a mountaintop can see all around. They're the ones.
It's your true self is what I think even a better term for it would be.
And your interdimensional self as well. So, that we're just connecting more and more and more with that interdimensional part of our true selves.
I shouldn't have skipped one step, because prior to meditation, you have a little section on a positive spiritual work space, which I thought was a really good point, because often we're in an environment, which it's not conducive to our own spiritual growth.
I think that's correct too, because we're dealing with, Dolly said it as well, there's beings all around us, good and bad, and how do we identify what's good and bad as well? But if we're getting something's whispering in our ear, oh, you're fat, everyone hates you, you're ugly, you're not unsuccessful, no one likes you, he doesn't like you, this sort of thing, if you wake up to what you're hearing and thinking and listening, that those thoughts aren't coming from you. And so that energy can get stronger and stronger in that space if you don't clear and cleanse it out, and you want to have really positive workspace, shall we say, in your house, personal space. No one wants any beings attachment. It sounds like I'm talking about metaphysical stuff, but if we say this is our reality now, we should be aware of what's talking to us and what's coming into our minds.
Right. It's not just it's not haphazard. It's amazing. You can live in a neighborhood, okay, and you've got next door neighbors on both sides of you. These neighbors are thinking all good things. They're good people. They're trying to do good things with the world and themselves. They're healthy. They understand reality, blah, blah. And then you got the one over here that's off the charts crazy, thinking all negative stuff, evil thoughts. I want to hurt this person. I want to hurt that person, full of hate, okay? They're projecting those thoughts out into the ether, just like everything else. So you've got good over here and evil over here. Now you're walking solidly conscious, and you can hear both of them. Trust me, you do. You hear them. They're within proximity to you, and that's the first energy that's going to hit you proximately, in your area. Okay. What you got to do is learn to identify what that is over there versus this, and decide for yourself. If I'm walking down this way, and this is here and this is here, I don't necessarily need to veer over here to be in the good, and I'm definitely not veering over there. I'm going to go this way. It's called navigation, psychic navigation, and everybody has to learn how to navigate wherever that energy is, whether it's bad, good, or evil. And you don't have to question it. You just have to know that you do feel it. You are aware of it, and it's coming into you, and you need to go whoop, no, and you navigate away from it.
I have to laugh, Dolly, because there's a section in Rowan Bo which is exactly saying this thing, about thoughts.
Sometimes it'll come after you. Yeah. So what you do is sometimes it'll come after you, because once you start waking up and you start using your abilities to the best of your ability, and you start hearing truth and practicing all of this energetically, you become very noticeable to everything. Okay, it all sees you, and the brighter your little light gets, or the stronger your voice becomes psychically, that's going to hear you first before they will. And it'll come after you sometimes. It'll hate so bad that it's like, no, you don't belong here. Get away from me. Or it'll attack you. And then here's the rough. You have to learn how to put an intended mental attitude, fortitude to yourself, where if that comes at you, all you have to do is say, nope. And it's gone. It can't come near you anymore. Your light becomes so bright that it cancels it out. It makes it go away. That's how fast you can move anything negative away from you, just with a thought. Nope.
Yeah, okay. I actually do like a barrier. I kind of try and create a barrier around my house, like a bubble of, you see it on Harry Potter. I'm like, oh, you're doing that.
Light it up. Yeah,
exactly.
Light it up. No dark allowed. No, yeah, that's a very good thing. Yeah. Absolutely, you're doing the right thing. But a lot of people can be like, you're going down the road, you're in the car, and it's all around you. So your awareness has to be sampling everywhere you go outside of your environment, your normal environment, to understand what it's at. And that's why I say it's navigation. Yeah, you're driving through all of this energy all the time. And it's better to start small, on a smaller scale, and because your intuition, your ability has to be trustworthy to you. Okay, you have to know that you're doing it when you're doing it. That's consciousness at work. You're employing consciousness, okay? Sentient consciousness. And so we have to do things for ourselves to do that. There are games you can play to teach yourself that you're doing it. You have friends, you can employ your friends to help you with it, you with them, you know. Let's play a game. Let's say, I'm going to think of something today. You call me when you think you got it, and vice versa. Or I need to hear from you psychically once a day. Think of me once a day so that I can receive, and I'll do the same for you. Okay.
Yeah.
When you go to visit and talk to people, reach out to them cognitively, consciously, and feel what they're hearing and saying, and then ask them. Don't say, "How you doing today?" Say, "I get the idea that maybe you have an issue today. What would that be?" You know, and they'll either look at you and go, "Wow," and tell you. Okay. And you can honestly, truthfully hear them give it up to you. That's how we learn to trust each other psychically. That's how we learn to trust the truth in each other psychically. These are little daily steps that we take until you get so good at it, you're just walking through it. You know, you will start to see the beings who are around you without even trying at that point. They will just be there. Okay. And you'll hear them as well, and can start interacting with them. One of the things that I had to learn to do to protect myself from idiots around me is not give up that information too easily to anybody. I kept it to myself. I was living it and doing it, but I quit talking about it to people because, okay. Now we're all trying to be this, and it's more fun to talk about it openly. You're doing the right thing by writing the book. You're doing the right thing by talking on how to get to this. You're following the path that you're supposed to go. That's what we're all supposed to do. Once you operate in the gift, you help everybody else get it. You know?
Yeah, that's what I like. You know, here's a sentence in your book: "Our thoughts matter, and we create from our thoughts, both negative and positive. Thoughts are much more important than people realize."
Yeah.
I really like what you wrote here. "We can change our thought patterns from negative to positive using meditation and contemplation and self-love. Use the ETs and angels as archetypes and role models to radiate universal love. We can change our world using this philosophy in action."
In action. I was thinking that I wanted to thank you, because that's exactly, speaking of being psychic, this is exactly what part I wanted to talk about too, because I haven't touched on it in this interview anyway, but when the grey lady would come to me before we would sit face to face, I could actually feel her love coming and radiating out, and talking about that same sort of thing, Dolly. You know, we can do that ourselves by consciously radiating our love out and pushing it out into the world. And you know, this is the whole point, isn't it? Because, and what I said to some people who are buying my book, I said that in a world of darkness, we all need to put our lights on, you know. So this is how we are putting our lights on, by activating ourselves spiritually and
absolutely,
you know, consciously. So, you know, that's what I was saying about angels and ET, that radiating love like the grey lady would do. She would just radiate it as an aura field. And we've got that ability too.
Absolutely, we do. You're right.
So you have, you know, before we get to some questions, because I do want to give the chat some time to answer questions, you have a little section, getting the support you need. You have, you know, a number of points, little steps people can do to, you know, help them along the path towards, you know, because you as an experiencer didn't have a book.
Exactly.
You had to find this out the hard way. So can you mention some of these little things that people can do?
I touched on it with regards to the ontological shock or existential shock previously, and there are things that people, you know, groups that people can get in contact with. Create your own group if you know, don't have a group already around you. You know, if you're in a small country town, connect with people like minded, read books about your own people who have had similar contact, which is what I did, because I was like, oh my gosh, contactee books, they're the ones that have all the information. So I started to read things that other people had similar contact with me. Yeah, connecting to Facebook groups. That's my Facebook group there. I took that photo. That's above a town called Esk in Queensland. So there are ways, and like I said, now I'm creating cafe groups that people, you know, in a safe space, people can, like-minded spiritual people can just talk about their own spiritual or ET or extraordinary phenomena that's happened to them in a safe space. And we're supporting each other then. So yes, there are things that we can do to cope with this difficult information, and we're all lighting up and changing the world, because if I talk to you guys, we're all sharing our own information, sharing our own stories and our own thoughts, and then that flows out through other people sharing their own thoughts and information. So this is really important for us to get together in groups, because over the years we've all been told we're crazy, or we've all been told,
yeah,
you know, there's horrible, you know, we have to be quiet, or we've got stigma, and people have, you know, worse things have happened to people. But keeping us all silenced and apart means that we can't all come together. Now it's time for us to come together and talk about this stuff.
Right. I totally agree. Well, thanks. Okay, are we ready to bring some questions up from chat?
Sounds good.
This is kind of a mouthful. What's a synopsis of her book, The Message? You know, like I wrote a book called UFO Healings. This was always a writing exercise in writing class. You know, I took a lot of narrative writing class. You got to summarize your story in a paragraph, then ultimately one sentence. Like the book on UFO healings that I wrote, I'd be like, ETs are healing people. That is one of their goals. So how would you break down your book into a couple of sentences?
Well, being a guidebook, I think it's there to help guide people who have had experiences or wanting to learn about what's going on in ET disclosure. But there's also way more than what's going on in the whole universe, shall we say.
Yeah.
So if that's helpful.
Yeah.
So
I do recommend the book.
Literally the guidebook. Yeah.
Yeah. That's why I said it works on multiple levels, you know, so it's both an interesting adventure story and, you know, it's got wisdom in there as well.
Thank you.
All right. So Michael Kennedy, we actually talked about this, Michael, but maybe we can touch on it again. Can the panel speak on the topic of time travel aspect of the phenomenon?
Yeah,
we can. Yes. So I believe it's to do with interdimensions as well. So other dimensions. So somehow
with their dimension, and you can go out and come back without. Yeah. And one of my issues with time traveling, or what you would term time traveling, is that when I was in my 40s, I thought, you know, I feel older than I look, you know, or I look older than I feel, or I couldn't explain it. And I finally had to talk, you know, how much older am I really? Because I would be gone for weeks and months at a time and then come back within 10 minutes of leaving. And I said, has anybody added this all up for me? Do y'all know how much I've actually lived beyond what I'm physically would have lived here? And am I older? And they're like, yeah, you are. You're actually older. And so like I'm 67 and I'm probably closer to 70 years old, physically 70, because I've lived that amount of time. There's no way to put it. I've lived extra dimensionally that many more years than I've actually lived here. And it bothered me for a long time to explain it to myself how this worked. And I finally said, you know, it's time to teach me this. I want to understand what the heck you're doing to me. What the heck, you know? I would go clean across the universe where my time here slowed down to nothing. I was already back in time there. Okay. It's hard to explain, but it's perspective. All right. Time is nothing but perspective, where you are now. Okay. And I'm physically here talking to you now, but if I left here, went extra dimensional and went clean across the universe, I would not be here anymore. I would be there, but there traveling would be past for us. And then I would be coming forward again to come here to catch up with, or to re-enter where I was minutes or a day later here, having lived all that time back there. So that is time travel. I'm going to their past, not my past. See what I'm saying? It's hard to explain, but I'm going to their past, not my past. They live like this. They travel all the time extra dimensionally. These people are so much more advanced than we are. This is like a normal state of being for them. All right. And they're consciously capable of understanding it mentally. They've developed the mental acuity to live through it. One of the things they did was they took me out of here and brought me not physically in. I wasn't physically in. I was out of dimensional space, but they brought me back in time here, but I wasn't here. I don't know how to explain that. I was out of time, but they could see me, I could see them, they could hear me, I could hear them. And I joined with relatives of mine in another place for a brief period of time, long enough for them to get proof of me having been there. And then they brought me back out and brought me back here. I wasn't physically there, but I was a type of physical there because I was extra dimensional when it happened. I wasn't allowed to interact with them physically. I wasn't allowed to drink, eat, nothing. I didn't even, I was so afraid of the situation that I didn't even touch the ground. I sat on a bench with my knees up. I refused to put my feet even down and touch the ground. That's
I
how
think we're only beginning to understand
anyway,
time.
Yeah. So it's complicated. It's really complicated, and it has more to do with perspective, is what I'm trying to say. It's all perspective. Time is perspective, and we have to learn to understand what that is. Okay.
I was just looking into a case, well, several months back actually, but it was interesting because this little boy was taken up by the ETs, and they were talking to him about time, and they said, "Well, you're actually in your bed right now." He's like, "Well, how can that be?" It's because we brought you back. He's like, "I'm with you." He says, "Well, you're with us now." So it's like, what?
Yeah. And we're just trying to get our heads around it all. That's why. That's why my book's just a beginning guidebook, but then go and extend our minds to more and more phenomena and to figure it all out as a whole.
Here's a really important question from Oil Painter. Please, Rowan, where can we get your book?
Oh, it's on Amazon. Thank you. It's easy to search on. It's The Travelers and Experiencer's Guide to Extraterrestrial Disclosure. So just look up The Travelers with a double L, because that's how we spell it in Australia. Or if you can't find it, look up Rowan Bo on Amazon. There's a different, thank you, Preston. There's a different Amazon for every country. So it's very difficult to share links, because if I click on Amazon America, but I'm in Australia, it says it's not available. So you just have to search for it on your own Amazon website, please. Thank you. You can get it on ebook or on paperback. I'm going to put out an Audible at some point. So that's the next job. Yeah.
Okay.
Totally cool.
Thanks, everybody.
Angie is asking where you're based. Melbourne?
I'm based in Brisbane, Australia, in Queensland.
All right.
Thank you.
And here's a good question from Dunzel 2026. Rowan, did the spacecraft make any sound when you were inside of it?
No. To answer your question, the two spacecraft I've been in, no. So I was in the black triangle spacecraft and the rectangular tall blonde spacecraft.
Did you smell anything?
No, I don't remember any of that. No.
What about temperature?
No, don't remember. Sorry.
No, it's all right.
I was having a mind meld with the grey lady, or I was flying the craft. So yeah, sometimes you can't pay attention to absolutely everything that's around you, because it's an existential shock as well. You're in a completely other place with different beings. So it is shocking.
Yeah.
And confusing and terrifying all at once.
Yeah, well, that's what's another interesting thing about your book, because you did go through some fear, some honest to God fear and trauma, but you've come through it, and ultimately, if I'm getting this correct, it's a beneficial, benevolent. You've grown from it. You're happy you've had these experiences. Would that be a fair statement?
Happy is a difficult way to put it, because I've had these experiences whether I wanted to or not, but I've had to come to terms with what they are. And as I said before, I can remember past lives, pre-life and early life, and all these memories that other people don't talk about. So I've had to just put my mind to it and go, well, what's really happening? So, I'm happy to be the person to talk about all this weird stuff, because not many other people are talking about it, and lots of people, like you say, are silent about it and don't know who to turn to. So yeah, I have had to come through it.
Do you feel like you've benefited from it?
I feel like I've benefited in that I have been able to become aware of what's happening out there in like a tiny splice of what's happening out there. Obviously beings are interacting with me, interacting together, interacting with us on different levels. So yeah, it's a mind-blowing reality. This is our reality. So at age 8, my reality was already getting blown out of proportion to what was really what the material reality is. So reality is not what we believe it is in the material. That has taken 40 years. So I'm sorry if that's why you need a guidebook, because this is my 40 or 50 years of experiences and thoughts and coming to terms with it. So this will just help everybody to figure out things. Obviously keep thinking and keep researching and keep figuring things out, because I'm not a scientist. I'm just a little person from Brisbane,
Well, you've learned a lot. All right, we have 5 minutes, so I'm going to go through these last questions pretty quickly. I don't know if you can answer this one, Ro. Question for the panel. Have you heard of anyone bringing back an object from a UAP or trying to? I can certainly talk about this. But...
Yes, I'll refer you to Preston, because I've read some of your books that talk about that. It's fascinating. But no, I haven't. Yes, I have heard of people, but only through Preston's books.
Yeah, well, I know of many cases of people who've tried unsuccessfully. One of the first really publicized cases was Antonio Villas-Boas, and he tried to grab something, and they pushed him down and escorted him out. And other people have tried to put things in their pockets, and they gently just pull them out. Dolly had an experience where she tried to take a book, and basically, no. But there are people who have been given stuff or asked, and generally it's perhaps a piece of metal, which usually turns out to be some normal element, because of course elements are the same throughout the universe. But crystals, certainly, stones, even seeds and leaves and things like that. Certainly, there's a number of cases of that, but it's very rare. But I don't know, Dolly, you want to add anything to that?
When I was younger, I was given marbles all the time. Really, really cool marbles. Okay, had a giant bag of them, and they were unexplainable marbles. Okay, they were cool. My friend saw them and nearly died because I had some unbelievable, beautiful marbles. The bag disappeared when I was about 15 or 16, and it piffed me quite literally off, because I was piffed. Okay, because that's my bag of marbles. Okay, but no one allowed to keep them after that. I've gotten other things that I will not discuss. Preston knows what a couple of them are, and it wasn't that they were given to me, but I managed to bring them with me. And it wasn't anything from the craft. That's all I'm going to say about it. I have other things that I have with me. I have implants that are not mine.
That's a good point. One guy was getting little pancakes. The Joe Simonton case in Wisconsin.
Yeah,
they were studied. It was pretty unusual case and pretty well verified. But yeah, that does happen.
Yeah.
All right, let's go through the rest of these real quick. Patsy's asking you, Rowan, have you had any men in black or any government agents following or threatening?
No, not that I know of. But this morning, my 2 computers weren't working. So
I think that has more to do with the CME. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
No. Luckily, I haven't. But I haven't really talked about anything before either until now. So
agents call me all the time. I'm very good at figuring out who's who and what's what, and that's why I'm very observant. I'm constantly aware of my surroundings and everything goes on. And every now and then I'm able to single one out of the, and go, hey, I did it today. So I was followed today. Okay. I'm not going to tell you what I was doing, but I had an agent following me. And I decided to double back on him and show up in his face and give him the look. And all he did was side eye me and just look like, oh crap, she knows it's me, you know? And I walked out. I mean, I aggressively stared him down for a second. And then we walked out. I was like, I ain't putting up with you people. I don't like it when it happens. It's annoying. It's like, find somebody else. I'm not that interesting. Really, I'm not. You know, go away.
A number of contactees who've had problems with it, but rarely. And Dolly's probably the worst case I've seen of it. But I've talked to people who've had break-ins and hypnosis tapes stolen and things like that.
Yeah.
So Dolly, Richard is asking, are the insectoids also human?
Yeah, but you have to understand that we pareidolize everything. So what you think is an insectoid is still a humanoid. It has bones and sinew and skin, not insect shell-like stuff. They have clawed fingers. You know, that's a being that is. We just see them that way because it's easier for us to understand what the heck it is we're looking at. You know, here's 7.5 to 12 feet tall dude or lady thing staring at you, and they're shaped funny and they're looking at you. They're still humanoid. They're bipedal. They walk upright. They eat. They drink. They poo. They do all this stuff. Yeah.
Okay, we're pretty much out of time, but I'm going to pop up 2 quick questions for you, Rowan, because they just came in and they're good ones. One's from Scarlet Fire. Do you have any info about the secret military base called Pine Gap in Australia?
Yeah.
No, I don't. I did talk about it in other interviews with regards to where I flew the Tourblon craft. And if you do a line from the direction I flew, it actually does join up to Pine Gap. So I'll just leave it as that.
All right. And here's a really good question, I thought, from Alfred. And this is our last one. Sorry, guys. What's the most surprising thing you've learned from your experiences? I like that question.
I don't have a whole book on it.
All of it.
Yeah,
all of it's been very surprising.
The whole thing. Yes. Thank you. Sorry about that, Alfred.
Okay. Well, any last words you'd like to leave with our audience?
I just want to say thanks for the opportunity to talking to you guys again and everybody else around the world. Yeah, at least in America. So thank you so much for your support, guys, and I'm just thrilled that this book's out and we can be helping people around the world with just this information.
That's amazing. Now you have an email, a way to contact you in Australia?
Yes, you know? It's called ufo.radio@proton.me. M for Mary, E for Edgar.
Yeah, and we put some links in the show notes too, so that'll help people out.
Yeah. So be prepared. You're probably going to get an influx of people around you starting to show up again. That'd be very cool. You know, I hope this helps your book to get out more. Everybody, please go check it out. I actually did read your book when Preston was reading it. I grabbed it too and read it and then he wrote the preface, and I was so impressed. You know, very much so.
Yeah.
It is amazing.
People in chat said they actually bought the book. So thanks, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess we have to say goodbye. I want to give a shout out to all you lovely people for joining us tonight and helping to support the show as well. Thank you, Gizmo. Truly appreciate it. Namaste. You guys are amazing. Bob Thorson, Cherise, all you guys, just really, really happy you could join us. Thank you, Polly.
Thanks, Polly.
Alfred said he's going to go buy the book. Yay.
Oh, thanks, Alfred.
Thank you, my bud, and Angie, and all you other guys. Rowan is so gracious. Oh, that's very sweet, Menno, from us. All right, Dolly, I guess it's time for us to say goodbye.
All right. Thank you, Rowan, so much for coming on. We have to have you come back again, okay? You promise? Okay.
Yes, definitely.
All right.
We're all besties.
Absolutely. All right. You've been with us at the Light Gate. It is Monday night. We are coming to you live from the beautiful city of New Orleans in Louisiana. We're broadcasting from the United Public Radio Network at 107.7 FM and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network at 105.3 FM. We are on Facebook. We're on Roku. We're on Rumble. And we're on YouTube. we love you all so much. We want you to have a spectacular month. We've got some more shows to do. This just happens to be the first one in September, and we will keep seeing you very soon. We love you. Mwah. Night, night, everybody. Be happy.